Good morning, DePauw friends and family.
It's hard to believe, but it's officially October and we only have one more week until fall break.
I know a lot of students are very excited about this break, as last year, under COVID guidelines, fall breaks were not in the academic schedule.
Yes, it is well deserved after all the hard work we have been putting in.
Well, let's get into some Tiger news. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Ann, and you're watching The Source.
We had a busy week on campus. This past Friday, Dr. Lori White had her official presidential inauguration. Many students, faculty, and esteemed guests were present to watch this historical event.
In other historic news, this past week, the PCCM, the Polio Center for Contemporary Media, inducted 3 new members into the Media Hall of Fame: Meg Kissinger-Boynton, class of '79, James Stewart, class of '73, and David Chambers, class of '73. All 3 of these inductees were involved in student media during their time on DePauw's campus.
Meg Kissinger is now an investigative reporter for the Milwaukee Journal Sentinels, who specializes in writing about mental illness. James Stewart is a prize-winning New York Times reporter and a New York Times best-selling author. And David Chambers is a successful prize-winning historical fiction author.
All 3 of these inductees worked for our campus newspaper, the DePauw. The DePauw is Indiana's oldest college newspaper and continues to keep students updated on campus news. Jude Hunter, our news director, had the opportunity to sit down with the current editor-in-chief of the DePauw, Senior Olivia Jennings, to talk a bit about her experience in student media and what led her to this crucial position.
Thank you, Ann, so much. As she said, my name is Jude Hunter, and I have had the opportunity to sit down today with Olivia Jennings, who is the current editor-in-chief for the DePauw. So you should start by kind of introducing yourself and telling us what you do at the DePauw.
Yeah, so my name's Olivia Jennings, like you said. I'm a senior at DePauw this year, and I've recently taken on the role as editor-in-chief for the newspaper. And I'm also involved in the cheerleading team. I'm involved in Greek life. Like many students at DePauw, yeah. I wear very many hats.
Yes.
But that keeps life interesting.
Yeah.
And I like staying busy, so it's
Definitely.
good.
Yeah. So you are a senior this year, which is pretty exciting. And you just want to talk about like when you got involved in working for the newspaper.
Yeah, so actually a lot of the seniors that I'm leading on the paper have had more experience on the paper than I have.
Yeah.
I had a little bit of a roundabout journey into student media. I didn't know anything about student media, to be honest, when I came into DePauw. And then my sophomore year, my W course was news writing and editing with Kathy Jesse, who's our advisor for the paper. And it just kind of clicked with me. I did a couple assignments and she approached me and she was like, have you ever thought about writing for the paper? So I was like, okay, I'll check it out. I'll see what it's about. And I started taking on stories and I instantly just absolutely loved it. So I realized that that's what I wanted to do. And then the more I went on and took on additional articles, the more that confirmed it. And then this summer I did an internship in journalism and I loved it. It never felt like work.
Yeah.
So that's definitely a good side.
Yeah.
So with the paper I was a staff writer and then I was a digital editor.
Okay. Yeah, so that's so cool. I think your story is very similar to a lot of people where they're not necessarily your communications degree, they don't have that direct path. So I think it's super cool. One thing that I think is super cool is that like you kind of mentioned, student media is it is open to a lot of different people and a lot of people find themselves in it. Should we talk a little bit about why you think student media is so important on a college campus, especially a liberal arts college campus?
Mm-hmm. I think student media, especially at a small school, is so important because it gives you an opportunity to see what you're into. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't know until you try, and the fact that you can come into a school like DePauw and have a talk show like this, or just start an article. Say you want to write about student athletes and you can just come to the paper and say, hey, I want to try it out. That's such a unique experience at DePauw because at a bigger school, you might have to already know that going in, or you'd have to apply and compete for the position. So I think student media, specifically at DePauw, is important because it helps you develop just a basic interpersonal skills. It helps you be aware of the community at large. It kind of brings you out of that bubble that you might be in. You get to work with new people and you just try new skills and you might really like something that you just would have never expected before.
Yeah. I also know over at the newspaper you guys write on a lot of different things, which is very interesting. Should we talk a little bit about like where do you guys get your stories? Like what who brings those ideas to the table?
So that's, I think, something I'm super thankful for this year is we have a relatively diverse staff and like interest among the student body. So typically the stories are generated at our storyboards, which happen Sunday from 4 to 5. Show up if you want to pitch a story. We're always open.
Yes.
So Sundays 4 to 5, and then students come in and we ask all of our staff writers to come in with like 2 ideas, and then the people who come and go who aren't on staff can just pitch as they please.
Yeah.
So then we write everything down on a whiteboard, and usually we'll talk about which article is the most like time relevant and the most like pertinent on campus at the time. And then we just kind of say, okay, like claim this article if you want to claim the article. So that's usually how it works, but like I said, that's the beauty of a diverse newsroom, because you're getting some international students pulling in from the international student experience, some Greek life experience, student athlete experience.
Definitely.
And so I would say that if we were all the same, our stories wouldn't look like how they do now.
Yeah. Is there a specific story that you always look to pull, or you just kind of open to anything?
I definitely like to critique. I would say anytime that I can critique the administration in a constructive way,
Definitely.
like never to tear down, but always to say, like, this is an issue, this is impacting students in this way. Why is it happening? Can we explain this? So usually I like to look for more conceptual stories. And I like to answer the how and the why. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Is there anything else you want to talk about the DePauw real quick before we send it back?
Thank you for meeting with me. I can't think of anything else, but I would say that I would just encourage first years to get involved in any way that they can, like whether it's with the radio or with D3 TV or the paper. Try anything and everying because the 4 years go by so fast.
They do.
And
they do.
you're going to find something you love.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for sitting back to me. We're going to send it back to Anne and Dominique in the studio.
Thank you, Olivia, for taking the time to sit down with us.
A few upcoming events on campus. Tomorrow at 1, we will be having a happiness sprinkling beginning at Conspire on the Square. Check out DePauw Counseling Services on Instagram for more information.
The DePauw Health Clinic would like to remind students to stay healthy as the weather changes. Many contagious illnesses, such as the flu and strep, are spreading through campus.
That will do for this episode. I'm Anne.
And I'm Dominic, and you're watching The Source.